No, I think we kind of knew and felt some of the issues, and those showed up on the film. And I think we're at a place where a lot of the stuff is correctable, right? Which is typical early in the year. But like that's where you want to be. It's stuff that we can control, and so as we clean that stuff up, I think we're going to play better and better.
There's the one thing that I think was different that from the 3 previous games, the 2 exhibitions in the regular season, was Thomas Suffolk going a little offensively in the beginning of that second half, and it was statistically your best half so far of offense. And I know I asked you Saturday, but I'm going to kind of ask again, how important is it to have those paint touches and a presence in the paint that's impactful, not just touching the paint. Obviously, you've got to do something in the paint as well. How important is it to have Thomas Love or Dayton finishing in there every now and then to open the outside up?
Yeah, no, it's a big part of it. I mean, I think that's when I think about our efficiency. I think it's easy to look at how we're shooting the ball from the perimeter, and that's more across 4 games, and think that's where the issue is. But I think it's more about how we finish around the basket. I think really good offensive teams are good and efficient in around the rim from 2 at the free throw line, right? There's more variance from 3, and so you need that stability around the rim. And so Tom finishing some of those, and guys I thought second half found him a little more versus the drop coverage. Dayton both getting to and converting from the free throw line, had a couple transition finishes. I think that's closer to the guy. I mean, he's still got a little room there, but closer to the guy we've seen and what we think he's going to be capable of. So those are encouraging signs, but we still got to keep building on that.
Defensively, the numbers have been just fantastic through the first 2 games. I'm curious if your defense, I don't know how a coach feels when people, I know last year when you got hired and Ziegler called me up and said you kind of ran a little bit of a junk defense. When you hear terms like that, how would you describe your defense? Is it predicated on catching them off guard and just confusing them because it's so unique? Or is it more basic zone than that? Like, how would you describe your defense? Is it about confusion?
No, I don't think it's about confusing opponents. I think it's about being connected, being versatile, and making it difficult in certain areas of the floor. I think there's a lot of different ways to do it. Defensively, like everybody kind of plays their own style. But it's not so much about confusion as it is about versatility. We want to make things difficult. We want to get people out of like the comfortable places that they're in, right? So whether that's teams that run a lot of plays, right? We maybe don't want you to get all your shots and actions out of the rhythm of, hey, these are the plays we run. This is the structure we play out of. We want people to have to get outside of that and kind of do it themselves. Certain isolation teams, or like you're running less action, then we want to kind of force you to do more moving the ball. Like trying to make people uncomfortable would be a better term than confusing them.
And how much changes then about your defense from game to game? Obviously, there's scouting reports for every team throughout the season. I'm curious, right now, early in the year, how much is changing from game to game from your defense based on what you said? One team might want to do this, we're going to take that away. One team might want to do this. So are you changing a lot game to game at this point, or is it still too early?
That's a good question. We have some changes, but they're pretty subtle at this point. I think worse. I mean, obviously the numbers are good, but there's a lot of room for improvement on that end of the floor too. And in similar areas as to what we're talking about offensively, I think we're allowing pretty efficient rim finishing at the moment. Like our 2-point percentage defense, percentage-wise, is not quite where we want it. I think the volume is in a good place, right? Like we're forcing a lot of threes, but we are allowing too high a percentage around the basket. Some of that is offensive rebounding. We haven't, specifically in the last game, I didn't think we did enough there to where we want. So if you give up an offensive rebound, that's likely to be pretty deep catch, and you're vulnerable to a putback or foul from there. So there's some things that are connected that can help us sort that stuff out. That's kind of what I was referencing, in that we feel like a lot of our things are correctable, and as we clean those up, we do feel like there's a lot of room for growth on both sides of the ball.
Coach, tomorrow night, UC Riverside, their starting lineup goes for 6'4", 6'10", 6'9". What are some of the challenges that this team poses to you defensively?
Their defense or our defense?
Their height. What is their height that pose has a challenge defensively with the Lobos?
Yeah, I think a big thing with them would be, defending the paint, protecting the basket, trying to make them inefficient. Specifically, Worthy is a good player for them who had a big game against North Dakota. He puts a ton of pressure on the rim. He's a big physical guard. He's a tough matchup for a lot of teams. If you put a smaller guy who could try to stay in front, or a bigger guy who can maybe withstand his physicality. So we want to kind of show him bodies and not have him like straight lines to the rim because he's a good finisher. But then the same things, can we win on the offensive glass? Can we limit the opportunities around the basket? And then the jump shots, we need to get them contested once we do the first part.
Your defense has dictated a lot of the pace and turned the other team over quite a bit. Paul Weir, when he was here, we talked about deflections and active hands in the passing lane that you've had that. If that doesn't, if they don't turn the ball over, if turnovers don't come, do you feel that the team can win a close game?
Yeah, I think we're capable of winning a close game. We have to do some things defensively. If we're not creating turnovers, then we need to be able to finish on the glass and make people miss and those kind of things. But I think we're equipped to win a close game.
Let's talk about some areas that you need to improve on, but just generally through these first couple of games, like in the progression, you feel like your team is making the right strides at this point. I know it's early, but are you liking what you're seeing?
Yeah, I think we've made progress in a lot of areas. So yeah, I would say in general, I like the direction we're going. But I also think this is a team that's really going to continue to improve for a large chunk of the season. I think we're going to keep getting better with the reps. We have a lot of, guys playing together, guys who haven't played a lot of college basketball. So, we're not where we want to be. We're kind of never where you want to be. But at the same time, I do think we're going in the right direction, and I think we got a lot of upside.
Yeah, I think I answered it already, but just like specifically, is there something that you really want to see out of your team going into UC Riverside? Is there certain statistics, something that you really want to see?
I think offensive efficiency is something that we're certainly searching for, and I think we can continue to do better. Geoff mentioned that the second half of that last game was starting to, I think we had a pretty efficient second half, and so that's encouraging. I think we want to just keep getting better. And you can see guys doing that. They're doing a good job watching the film and trying to apply the solutions. I thought our end-to-drive decisions were better in this last game. So there's a lot of things that we'd like to improve on, and I think our guys are doing a pretty good job of understanding that and trying to execute.
Yeah, and is there anybody in particular, like individually, that has really kind of stood out to you and has kind of stood out a little bit more than you maybe would have thought of, or is just doing a really good job leadership or anything like that right now?
We got a bunch of guys doing well. I think like when I watch us defensively, I think the effort is pretty good across the board. Like that's where things start. But there's a lot of guys who are playing well, and that's something I think that is a strength of our team. I think any night you could see, a handful of guys be the leading scorer, or we could have several guys in double figures. I think we're going to have a pretty balanced attack, and so yeah, pleased with everyone's progress and the way a lot of guys are playing.
I noticed over the past couple of games, like the minutes distribution, we haven't had anyone that's even cracked at 30 minutes. And obviously, last year we had a few players that were putting up like 36, 37 minutes, 37 minutes a game. Are you still trying to figure out some of the players' roles in terms of why you have a lot of guys that are between that 18 to 29 minute range, or is it just by design where your philosophy is a lot of guys playing all night?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's a little bit of both. So we are still trying to kind of figure some things out, and I think there's some guys who we're trying to develop in terms of the bench and the depth. So that's an ongoing process. But also trying to understand guys' kind of optimal rotations, right? Like not everybody can play 8 straight minutes and keep their level where we want it. So there's a little bit of that too, of trying to just keep guys fresh and have everybody playing kind of their best basketball. So, I've had teams where guys are playing super heavy minutes and it's kind of a short rotation. Again, with the depth of this group, I think we have a lot of guys who are capable of, playing pretty heavy minutes, and so is it better to have a few playing, 30 plus and other guys in that 15 range, or 7 or 8 playing 20 to 25, right? Like, I think that's something we're kind of determining, and there's a lot of factors in that, right? Is like the rotations and the guys playing together, sort of what we feel like they're capable of handling from a stretch and minutes consecutive perspective as well. So those are all factors we're considering with that.
And you mentioned throughout the offseason, you guys have been practicing against each other for months, and there's only so much work and practice that you guys need game time. Is this one of the things that you needed to game time to kind of continue to figure out in terms of what lineups work and who can handle that increased minute role and things of that nature?
Yeah, there's definitely some of that. I think getting guys in the games and having it kind of having them feel the rotations, and it's one thing in practice, like we practice for practice might be 2.5 hours and there's a lot of breaks built in. We're not just playing 5-on-5 for that period, so getting in the games and seeing how they play with the stretches, or some games don't have a lot of whistles, and now you're getting up and down, and how they handle fatigue, who drops off. Like, everybody kind of has a different kind of point of no return where they really drop off relative to their workload. So that's all stuff we're continuing to evaluate and trying to tweak a little bit.
And the next 2 games, obviously, UC Riverside and New Mexico State this weekend. What can you say about the importance of both of those games? I know it's early, especially for the academic game. Just from your perspective, how important are these next 2 games?
Yeah, I mean, every game's important. We're just focused on the next one. So I don't know anything about New Mexico State. I know who's on their team a little bit. Like, I haven't watched any film on them. We're just focused on Riverside and trying to prepare to compete tomorrow night.
Coach, Chris Howell, he played for you last year. Blue guy, high basketball IQ, facilitator, very, very smart. How important is it to have him in the lineup and running a new system with guys that haven't run it before? How important is it to have Chris Howell on the floor?
Yeah, he's huge for us. Just kind of a veteran guy who knows how to play. I mean, regardless of system, obviously it's helpful to having been in ours already for a year, but I mean, he just has such a great feel for the game, and he does a ton of stuff that doesn't show up in the box score. I mean, some of the stuff he does will show up with, the assists and the steals, but there's so much more that he's doing with his communication, his rotations, putting out fires, helping guys get in the right position. Like, he's doing a lot on the floor that isn't going to show up if you just look at the box score. And Luke Hopp is another guy who's like that. I mean, he wasn't with us last year, but just kind of his experience level, his basketball IQ, those 2 guys are able to, we kind of think of them as connectors, because maybe they're not going to be high volume on offense, but what they do on both sides of the ball to help your team win is pretty critical. And like, if you're really paying attention to rotations, you won't see very many where we have both of those guys off the floor at once, because we do think that those 2 guys specifically, but like that type of player in general, I think is really important to having a good basketball team.
Are they both future coaches?
If they want to be, absolutely. Like, if that's something they want to do, Luke's dad's a high school coach, and Mikey's brother's obviously on our staff, but I think they both have a lot of basketball in front of them if they want to keep playing basketball. But if their interest is in coaching the game, they would be excellent.
Would you ever have 2 Howells on your staff?
I would love it if it could play out that way. Like, those guys, Mikey does a great job. I mean, it's kind of cool, like, having Chris now after having Mikey previously. I mean, they're different players, they're different people, but there's a lot of times where you kind of watch them play, or they do things in the game, and you kind of, like, oh yeah, I remember Mikey doing that stuff. And so that part's cool, just kind of watching that progression and having known Chris since he was, a young kid, and to see him now. But yeah, to answer your question, Luke and Chris would be fantastic basketball coaches if that's what they want to do in their future.
Overall, the defensive numbers have been what they are because of your first half defense. There has been a drop off in both regular season games in the second half. Points per possession shot pretty drastically up in both cases. Anything happening in that second half? Is it just about the other team sort of figuring things out, or are you guys taking the foot off the pedal a little bit? What's going on in the 2 second halves of the regular season so far, were there points per possession went up?
Yeah, I think that there's there's human nature involved, right? Like, that's how basketball works. Like, I think the first game, I don't know, they had 15 points or something at half. I don't know that we expected to hold them to 30 or under 30, or, so I just think there's some of that natural progression of teams kind of gaining some comfort, right? We're trying to make people uncomfortable. We talked about that at the beginning, but as the game wears on and there's a general kind of settling in that happens. So we have to continue to adjust as the game goes. As teams make adjustments, we have to then adjust to what they're doing. And so there's a little bit of that, which I think is some of the things that we feel like we can continue to improve on that side of the ball, and part of the reason why we think we can still get better defensively, even though the numbers are good. We can be more consistent. We can clean up areas where we're not giving up things as the game wears on or in the second half, or if teams make adjustments, that's a permanent solution. We then have to kind of find that same adjustment for ourselves. So there's a lot of aspects to that why maybe we haven't been quite as productive on that end in the second half. But some of it is just the human nature, and we fight that all the time. And when you get a lead or you get control of the game, we talk a lot about we're trying to play the possession in front of us, and external factors shouldn't impact that, but that's a lot easier said than done. And so I think in general we're doing a pretty good job, but there's some development for us on that side of the ball that has shown up a little bit more in the second half.
Anything else for Chris?
Thanks, guys.
I know. Jake says he's going to get a dunk this year. Do you see Jake Hall dunking in the game this year?
I wouldn't be surprised. Jake's a better athlete than people give him credit for.
Yeah, I think we're in a good spot. Definitely still trying to figure out the offensive side. I think defensively, we're making good strides, and kind of not where we want to be, obviously. Like, we want to keep making good strides, but I think, we're in a good spot defensively, and just the talent we have on our team, I think our offense will, we'll go with it, and I think we'll be just fine.
So offensively, I am curious a little bit about if Dayton gets in the paint, or if you guys get paint touches and kick them back out. Are you getting I know you can do more than shoot from the outside, but you're obviously a weapon on the outside. Are you getting the looks you thought you'd get in this offense on the outside? Is that happening the way you kind of envisioned it would?
Yeah, for sure. My teammates are doing a great job of finding me. I've had, great looks every game, and, now's the easy part. Just got to knock them down and do what I do, so. Yeah. And
then from game 1 to game 2, while Tomislav had a really good rebounding game the first game, he really still got it going, especially in the second half. Your guys' best half of basketball so far offensively was that second half when he got things going inside. How much does it help your offense, you guys, really the whole flow when there's an inside presence like that?
No, yeah, for sure. It definitely helps. Definitely helps all of us. We got so many weapons. They can't just focus on one person. They can't just focus on Diego getting the paint, or me shooting, or Chol shooting, or Tomislav, whatever it is. I think, his offensive performance will really, open things up for all of us, and, that's what we've been seeing all summer. So to see him do it was, it was really cool for him, and I know he had to, he's been a little slow getting it going, but, that was a good game, and, I think he'll definitely build off of it.
So far the shooting hasn't been what you wanted it to be. Coach wanted to shoot a lot of threes, and it hasn't come together yet. Is there anything that you can pinpoint in practice or things that you've been doing in the games? Shots are there. Catch and shoot, square up to the basket, finish, all the things that shooters do.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you can pinpoint as to why the shooting maybe percentages aren't as good as Coach may want?
Yeah, I think maybe just getting used to the environment, used to the pit, used to playing with each other still. In the off season we shot it really well, so it was kind of a surprise to all of us that we came out shooting it like we did. But just continuing to trust what we do, and knowing the shots will fall because of the talent we have on our team.
You, as Coach mentioned, you've been out rebounding a couple games. And then UC Riverside's coming in here with some size. As he mentioned, he wants the guards maybe to hit the boards a little bit harder, because this is a big front line you're facing against UC Riverside. As he mentioned, guards maybe and you got to get somebody back. I get that. Has he mentioned anybody, the guards hitting the boards a little bit more?
Yeah, for sure. I think he's preached that all off season, and in the first 2 games. So I think it's not specific to this game, but I think just in general, he's definitely preached that to us.
UC Riverside here tomorrow night, then New Mexico State on Saturday. And first things first, you got to take care of UC Riverside tomorrow night. And how excited are you to go down to Las Cruces and face the Aggies?
Yeah, no, super excited. I've heard about the rivalry, and just to go to their place, I think will be a super fun environment, and be fun to all of us for us to experience this rivalry for the first time. So super excited.
Just like a general question, just the mentality of this team. Do you feel like you guys are moving in the right direction? Obviously getting wins, but do you feel like you talked about figuring out, do you think you guys are making the right strides through these first couple of games? Yeah,
for sure. I think just the belief everyone has in the coaching staff and in each other, just because we saw it all off season, we saw it all summer, all fall. We know what we have, and we know if we just continue to trust the coaching staff, and we got a really good coaching staff. So I think we're definitely making the right strides, and coaches are doing a great job.
Okay, man. And just talk about you, man, coming in. The production you've had. Obviously, I'm sure you have all the confidence in yourself and stuff. But talk about, I guess, just your mentality and the production being successful so far, just you personally.
Yeah, I mean, the confidence comes from the coaching staff. I think they instill a lot of confidence in me just to be myself and, to be able to come in here and be myself right away. I think, it's given me all the confidence in the world just to, go do what I do. And I think that's a huge part of why, I've had the success in the first 2 games I've had, I guess.
Yeah.
How do you like playing in the pit?
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah,
What's it like to, we talked about it last game. There was the little transition early in the first quarter where the crowd was a little quiet, and then you guys got back-to-back steals and transition buckets, and then you could really hear the crowd. As a player, how does that feel to hear the crowd get engaged?
Yeah, it's awesome. Especially for me, I've never really been a part of something, this big or a crowd this big. So, it was super exciting, and, you just want to keep going, keep it going, keep getting a steal, just keep the crowd engaged. And I think, that was a really cool experience for me.
Is that something that you still have to get used to, or is that something that you feel like the whole team is already, you guys are looking for that type of energy?
I think we're definitely looking for that type of energy. It gets all of us going, especially on the defensive end. So I think, that's what we want, and we feed off it. So I think, we're just excited to have all those fans cheering for us.
And UC Riverside, what is your guys' scouting report of them?
Yeah, we haven't looked much into it. We're going to be talking about it today in practice. But we know they got good guards that can really score, get to the free throw line. So we're going to have to do a good job defensively and not foul and contain.
You know anybody on their roster?
I don't.
No California guys you played with or anything?
Yeah, they got.
What about New Mexico State? Any connections that you know of?
Not that I know of. No.
I'm curious on, you guys had yesterday off for the most part. Some of you guys, I'm sure, got some thoughts up or something. But what's a Sunday off like for this team? Do you guys get around? Do you guys watch some football? Is there too much international presence on this team to watch NFL, or what's it like? What do you guys do on a Sunday off?
My house, I definitely watch football. A lot of us watch football. But yeah, for the most part, we're just chilling.
Who's your team?
Chargers.
You're a Chargers guy?
Big Chargers fan, yeah.
So I'm curious, who's the big football fans on this team, the NFL fans?
I would say I'm up there, probably one.
Yeah.
I think, who else likes it? Not a lot of NFL guys.
Not a lot of NFL guys.
Roberts is up there.
Yeah. Are there any of the international guys who just don't get the NFL at all? I know some of them have been here and probably get it by now, but Tomasov just got here, Tomeo just got here.
Yeah.
Do those guys like the NFL at all?
Nah, I don't think so. I think they're more soccer guys.